All right, everyone. Ronna McDaniel has indeed been reinstated as RNC chair. She did get enough delegates in the end to maintain her position there, although several things she said immediately thereafter are quite interesting. I would like to point out for people that are black-pilled right now with regards to the RNC, because it's going to continue to be run by someone who is not particularly with it with regards to strategy, had not really done her job when supporting certain Trump candidates, actually, partially on behalf of people like McConnell and McCarthy. They clearly don't like populism. They're old-school neocons. They want the corporatism and the big money and the warmongering and stuff like that typically you've gotten with the GOP, except under the period of Donald Trump. This is why they're all lock, stock, and barrel. They're definitely trying to avoid even talking about Trump because they're trying to do a media lockout. By the way, Trump can break the blockade at any time by getting back on Twitter and Facebook and branching out elsewhere potentially, so far stubbornly refusing to do so. I think that's a problem. At the very least, before the general begins, you probably are going to have no choice but to get back on these social media sites, assuming that you want any chance of victory. Now, link in the description, archived, of course. The first point I'd like to make is that there actually were a number of holdouts. Harmeetdhillon did in the end get more than 50 delegates for the position. It's just not enough. It was always a long shot to suspect that McDaniel would lose. I would also like to point out, because people keep bringing up fucking Mike Lindell, he only got 4 delegates. To be clear, all 4 of those probably would have voted for Harmeetdhillon and given a greater chance of the RNC chair flipping had Lindell not drawn attention away by doing so. Became basically a punching bag as well for leftoid craptivists, which was interesting to see. By the way, I told you so. There was never any viability there. And to tell the truth, if the RNC chair had gone to Mike Lindell, I don't think good things would have happened. I think bad things would have happened, arguably worse than having Ronna McDaniel in that spot. At least in the immediate aftermath, she invited Harmeetdhillon to go and canvass and grassroots for her. Go tour the country together and try to bring unity to the GOP. Now, whether that can be attained or not is a different story. The fact that there was an olive branch extended in a conciliatory manner is better than nothing. But McDaniel could have just shuttered Harmeetdhillon out and said, no, I'm not going to campaign, I'm not going to talk with you at all. You were standing in my way and I deserve this role, damn it. Sort of pull, a Mitch McConnell thing. Hell, even Kevin McCarthy, less vicious than that. But no, there was at least a half-assed attempt at reconciliation, so I suppose there's a silver lining to the somewhat dark cloud. The other thing is that McDaniel will not stand for the position the next time around. She said, I'm done. After this term, fuck it, I'm gone. I'm no longer going to want to be chair of the RNC. Methinks that's probably because after 24, populism is going to come back into vogue more, and I think that she's worried about that. Why Mitch McConnell, he's got his position for a while longer. We'll see whether he's hazarded by the re-rise of MAGA as well, which I do suspect will happen to some extent. So now we have to analyze what happens from here. You have Mitch McConnell running the Senate, Republicans. He's a neocon, he's Turtle Man, he's the cokehead. You've got Kevin McCarthy running the House, although he has been neutered to some degree in his ability to fuck around with things without finding out. He's been a bit hamstrung. Some of the Republican proposals from the Freedom Caucus members are, I think, they have legs politically. Unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment the other day. Clearly that one didn't go over so well. Just to be clear, the inability of the chief executive to disburse oil from the strategic reserve never was likely to go over particularly well, partially because it would create a constitutional issue because it's the chief executive acting in time of crisis. Yes, I realize that simply using it as an oil piggy bank for midterm election purposes is not necessarily the way in which that's supposed to work, but the framing of Marjorie Taylor Greene's specific proposal was excessive, just to be clear. Will Ronna McDaniel fuck around with the process and throw more candidates under the bus and basically just stump for the neocons? The answer is I'm not sure, and I think that because she's so self-serving, she may or may not do that depending on the way the political winds shift. I think that's genuinely the answer. So it kind of depends on what happens from here on out with who the candidate for the Dems will be, who the candidate and candidates down ballot for the GOP will be. Does Trump secure the nomination, or is there a long, messy primary? How strong does MAGA look? Are there any major deaths or resignations or anything among the top roster of people currently in Congress? These things play a role, and so I think it's too early to tell whether she'll do the neocon shuffle thing or whether she'll defect. The conciliatory olive branch to Harmeetdhillon indicates to me that she's not willing to have a protracted fight, and therefore may bend at least somewhat to MAGA populism if necessary for political reasons, which is good because, you know, people like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, etc., have grown better, I think, at coercing negotiation. That they're because they're so forceful, because they do the big ask thing, it tends to work more than someone who half-asses it. Unfortunately, this isn't the case in the Senate. There simply isn't enough populism there. You've got Rand Paul and a few others basically as voices in the wilderness. So again, we will see what she does. It would have been better to have Harmeetdhillon leading the RNC chairmanship. That being said, that's not going to happen, and Lindell was never going to happen either. Again, I have to say, a well-deserved I told you so, because there were people that thought that he was going to get a bunch of delegates, and he ended up getting 4. Which pleases me. Again, I'm not exactly a fan of that particular individual. That's about all. Peace out.